guys, welcome back to another Average Guys Aquatics video. In this one, we're going to be focusing on this ZRDR CO2 generator. The time has come to where it needs to be recharged. So let's go ahead and get it all unassembled and out so we can recharge it. Okay, so now that it's all kind of taken apart, we can go over some of the parts. The main part is this stainless steel cylinder right here, as well as a solenoid for power attached to the regulator. Your bubble valve is what screws on top of here. When we put that together, I'll go back over that. And then you control it with a needle valve right here. So to go ahead and get this ready to be refilled, we're going to have to open the top of the cylinder like this. And here's our filter to the regulator. Alright, now the next thing you're going to want to do is get yourself a scale, because in order to create the CO2, you're going to need 200 grams of citric acid and 200 grams of baking soda. So get a container that you can measure it out with, add it on there, zero it out, test, make sure it comes back to zero, and then you're ready to add your citric acid and baking soda. Alright, now that we've zeroed out and measured 200 grams of citric acid, put it into the cylinder, we're going to do the same with the baking soda. Okay, so now once you've added both the citric acid and the baking soda, you want to make sure you stir up all of that together. That way they're well mixed before you add your water. And then for adding water, you're going to want to add 300 milliliters of water. So let's go get that measured out, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so now that we have our water measured out to 300 milliliters, take your funnel to ensure that you don't get any of your threads wet, and then you're going to want to angle the bottle at about a 45-degree angle and pour in your water. Now immediately you can hear it fizzing, so you want to get that off and your solenoid on as quick as possible so you don't lose any of that gas, and get it hand tight, and you'll want to stir it around. Now, as you can see, our pressure is starting to rise, and that will continue to do so for the next few minutes. So it's always good to let it set for probably a couple of hours to ensure that you got maximum pressure in your cylinder before hooking everything up. But we can take a moment to go over all of your different parts: your cylinder, your regulator, and your solenoid. This plugs in so you can have it on a timer. It's always best to have your CO2 turn on about an hour before your lights turn on, and then shut off about an hour before they turn off as well. Okay, so the next piece for the CO2 system that goes right into the regulator is the bubble counter. This lets you know how much CO2 you're putting into your system. The CO2 releases in bubble form through the bubble counter, and then through airline tubing up and around through the diffuser. Alright, so we've got everything hooked back together. We've put the bubble counter back to the regulator. We're going to plug in the solenoid. The pressure is continuing to climb, so we'll probably let that set overnight, and we'll come back and check on it again tomorrow morning, and we'll look into how to get the correct bubbles per second for your aquarium. It is now the next morning. We've let our CO2 mix overnight and build up pressure, so now we can get started at setting our bubbles per second. The first thing you want to make sure is that you plugged in your solenoid and that you've turned it on, because without that being on, it won't open up your valve to release that gas. You just turn your needle valve on. As you can see, you just set it. To the desired amount that you want. You can run it higher or lower depending on the size of the tank that you have. And when that solenoid turns off, if you have it, I recommend having it on a timer. And you can turn it on 1 hour or so before your lights turn on, and have it turn off 1 hour or so before your lights turn off. Now, once you get it all set up, whether or not if it's your first time setting it up or just recharging it, be mindful that there will be a lot of backup air in the hose that's going to have to work its way out before you even start to see bubbles coming out of your CO2 diffuser. One thing to combat that is to open it up quite a bit to push all of that air through your air tubing and to get that gas flowing. And then once you see your bubbles start coming out of your diffuser, then you can dial it back. There we go, we have our bubbles. Now we can dial it back to just the right amount of CO2 coming out of the system. Alright guys, our CO2 has been recharged and reinstalled back into the tank. Again, if you guys have liked and enjoyed this video, please hit that follow and subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. Let us know where y'all are from and what you'd like to see in future videos. Thanks for watching.